You mean you know?
Give us a few clues.
A bathing cap, a bath, a bottle, a wristwatch, the diamond, the noonday gun, the breath of the sea, and the height of the cliff. From that, you should be able to solve it yourself.
What is happening, folks? Welcome to another murder mystery breakdown on Nerds at Night. I am your sleuth, your host, Blake Weather. Let's break down another murder mystery. Before we do, hit that like and subscribe button if you liked the last one, Gosford Park. That was such a fun review. Thank y'all, everybody, for checking it out. Heard y'all liked it, so we're doing another one. Today's episode, we are breaking down. It's a classic. It's a goodie. It's Evil Under the Sun, which is the previous Hecule Piorot murder mystery movie trilogy that came out in like the late 70s, 80s, starring Peter Ustinov as Hecule Piorot. And he's pretty fantastic. He did Death on the Nile, Evil Under the Sun, which we're reviewing today, and Appointment with Death. He also did 3 like made-for-TV movies, which we're going to attempt to break down. We've got at least one of them. Look out for that one coming out in the future. Evil Under the Sun is a 1982 murder mystery, though. We've got our detective character, Hecule Piorot, and he's trying to look for a diamond, and then while he's on the island trying to figure out a murder. It's a great movie. They don't quite make them like this anymore. You know, a lot more movies, blockbusters, are effects driven, and this particular time of movies, it was more focused on like the characters, the writing, and practical effects, and you get a lot of that in this movie. It's super great. I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to get into our rules for solving a murder mystery in these movies. So what are our rules? We need to have suspects, we need to have clues, we need to have motive, we need to have opportunity, and for a bonus 5th one, red herrings. We use all those things to solve who our villain may be. I also want to say this about Evil Under the Sun. They don't write movies like this much anymore, and I know Kenneth Branagh really tries to with his new renditions of Hecule Piorot in Murder in the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, A Haunting in Venice. It's the dry humor, right? Like the cracks aren't funny bit, wait for audience to laugh. It's dry humor. Here's a quick line. If you didn't get it, too bad. You're gonna have to catch it on the rewatch. But it's just these like tidbits of like lines, and there's so many of those in this movie. I know there's some movies for sure where you look back and you look in the 70s and 80s, you're like, bro, those movies are whack as fuck. These are hidden gems, and I really am excited to share this movie series with y'all. So for sure, grab a bag of popcorn, grab a beer, grab a whiskey, sit back, relax, see if you can piece together the mystery of this one, and let's get started now. We begin with a murder being reported in the English countryside. And hey, her nostrils move. Are you sure she's dead? You sure she just didn't fall?
Man, get your punk ass up. It ain't even wet over here.
The cops don't mess about, though, and neither does our detective.
Hercules Parrot, sir.
Poirot, mademoiselle, pucker your lips as though about to bestow a kiss.
It's implied he looked into the murder we just saw, and the insurance company must pay out. He is also introduced to a new case where a diamond has been brought in to be insured, but it is a fake. So now we must ask the question.
The question is, why should a millionaire industrialist perpetrate such an obvious fraud?
Poirot takes on the case to speak with the owner of the fake diamond, Sir Horace Blatt, who is on his yacht vacationing in the south of France. How fancy. Horace tells the story of dating an actress from New York. Well, they didn't really date, but he had a 3-day fling with her, and afterwards bought her a $100,000 diamond as a show of faith that he intended to marry her. Did I mention it was from Tiffany's?
Monsieur, who can put a price on les affaires du cœur?
Well, I bloody can. And this was too high.
He says 3 weeks ago he finally found her and demanded she give the diamond back. After a week, Horace says he got the diamond back and gave it straight to the insurance company, and as you can guess,
Should have the bloody thing copied, hadn't you?
Horace finds out the lady who swindled him will be at a hotel on a vacation island in 3 days, and now he plans to get back what's his.
This time, day and time.
Oh, this day and
if I
age.
give you $1,200 ring and we ain't together no more, that need to come back with me.
He invites Poirot to be his guest on the trek, but Poirot admits he gets seasick, so he will have to travel by train and meet him at the hotel. This seems a little sus because one movie ago he was on a big boat in the Nile solving crimes, but I'll let that go so we can move on. Poirot grabs a snack before boarding his train, and he sees a couple having a tiff. Is he observant or is he nosy? But who is this husband guy talking to? Because that ain't his wife. We reach the island in the hotel and look, a young Maggie Smith. Told y'all she in all the murder mysteries. Maggie plays Daphne, who owns the island and runs the hotel. And it is in this way we meet the other guests currently on the island. We meet Rex, who is a struggling TMZ-style Hollywood gossip writer. We also meet Odell and Myra Gardner, who are theater producers. We learn an actress named Arlena is expected on the island. This actress, however, walked out on one of the Gardner's theater productions, and Rex is trying to get the juicy scoop on what happened.
Would either of you care to comment on that?
Why don't you go and play with yourself?
Excessively.
Is coarseness a substitute for wit, I ask myself?
The witty, dry humor train begins. The next guests on the island are Patrick and Christine Redfern. And hey, we saw them earlier and they were still squabbling. Bro, get help! Poirot is getting ready to head to the island and we meet a new family, the Marshalls. Kenneth, Arlena, and
this is my stepdaughter, Linda. Linda, do stop standing there like a cough drop and say good morning to Monsieur Poirot.
I'm just saying it now, Arlena is a savage with some of these fire lines.
This may come as a nasty surprise. Shock absorbers have been standard equipment on motorized vehicles for 30 years.
We travel by boat and learn instead of bells ringing at noon, these folks use a cannon.
It's only the noonday gun.
The noonday gun?
Yes, it's fired every day at 12 o'clock to commemorate the glorious victory of Kosovo Methojiva in 1193.
We make it to the island and dang, it's paparazzi already?
Why are you so obsessed with me?
We return back to our new friends, the Gardners, and find out they are producing a new show and need Arlena on board for this one, or their business could go under. Daphne welcomes our new guest, and we find out she's old friends with Kenneth and has some history with Arlena.
Arlena and I were in the chorus of a show together. Even in those days, she could always throw her legs up in the air higher than any of us, and wider.
Daphne meets Poirot and hopes he's not on assignment.
I hope you haven't come here to practice your sleuthing games on my guests. They've all got far too many skeletons in their cupboards to join in with enthusiasm.
Our guests all enjoy an evening mingle over drinks and snacks. And speaking of snacks, Arlena arrives to take all the spotlight and the Gardners approach her with the new play idea, but Arlena seems less than interested.
I feel like grabbing you by your ears right now and screaming in your face, I'm not fucking interested.
Also, Poirot seems to remember this fella from earlier.
Day 2.
It's day 2 and everyone is enjoying some sun, and Arlena gives Patrick an interesting look and goes down to the sea to take a dip. Rex has a word with her and asks about getting official permission to release a saucy biography book he has written about her. We learn she promised to sign a release when they were in New York, and Rex has almost blown through his advance money, but Arlena is not having it. Rex is furious she won't sign the release, but Arlena has her sights set on something else a bit steamy. Linda wants to see what her stepmom is up to.
I just wanted to chat. I don't seem to be having much fun.
Well, if it's fun you're looking for, darling, go play with the jellyfish.
I'm a savage. Yeah.
But Linda still gets the last word.
Bitch.
Cross-eyed, crying down your back, fat foot ass bitch. Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
Poirot notices Arlena and Patrick being extra chummy, and oh, Patrick's wife Christine is around? And she just hearing all the flirting action going on? We learn Christine doesn't tan well, so she's clothed up. You ain't burning up, girl? It's probably hot on the island. Daphne tells Poirot that Sir Horace sent a message that he will be there the next day, so sit tight. And also, Kenneth sees his wife far in the distance on the boat with Patrick. This is the worst kept affair of all time.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Okay, second worst. Well, now it's awkward for everyone, and they just peacing out. Patrick and Arlena having a good time, but no one is happy about this because they done turned Gilligan's Island into Temptation Island. The lovebirds come back, and they literally have fooled no one. The Gardners give Arlena a copy of the script, and she makes a racist joke?
What's it called, anyway?
It's not right and it's not fair.
Sounds like a black man's left leg.
Maybe I should talk about how black people have to struggle. Yeah, that'll get them on my side.
She's just making this trip so awkward for everyone. Poirot finds Christine crying in the garden, saddened about the whole situation with her husband, and he decides to give her some encouragement.
The Arlena Stuarts of this world do not count. Their domination is of the moment. Really, to count, a woman must have either goodness or brains.
Message!
They decide to go for a walk, and Christine damn near faints from staring downwards because she has vertigo. But despite that, she holds an optimism about enjoying the rest of her time here. And Poirot responds with,
The sky is blue, the sun is shining, and yet you forget that everywhere There is evil under the sun.
He said it! He said it!
Daphne has a heart-to-heart with Kenneth before the party. He knows Arlena is no good for him, and he knows she treats his daughter bad, and he knows she flirts with a lot of men, but it's all good, right?
Who the hell do you think booked Patrick Redfern in here in the first place?
You don't mean...
Okay, so now you're for sure leaving her, right?
Even so. With me, a deal is a deal. I don't approve of quick marriage and easy divorce. Arlena is my wife. That's all there is to it.
Well, I guess he in it for the long haul.
Exactly.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
The Gardners hear back from Arlena about the play, and she not on board with it. Kenneth approaches his wife Arlene, and they have some words.
I've just been having a word with Daphne.
You get on like a house on fire with her, don't you?
How dare you? She's a nice lady.
She's a nice lady. And you get on rather well with Redfern, don't you?
He's a nice fellow.
He lets her know he knows she invited Patrick to the hotel.
The bitch, Daphne.
In getting ready for the party, Poirot hears Patrick and Christine fighting, and I swear they need Dr. Phil and Jesus because they just be fighting so much. Downstairs, it's another cocktail night, and Kenneth is having some father-daughter time with Linda on the piano. That is until...
That's enough, Linda. It's adult time. It's Graham, Cinderella.
Arlena decides she's on Broadway and breaks out into a musical number. It has tones of sass towards Daphne and tones of hyper innuendo towards Patrick. Bro, we get it. Y'all banging. Move on. Y'all making this awkward again. It's a fun time for everyone, though, and they clapping.
Day 3.
Day 3 starts off with Poirot doing a magic trick to cheer up Linda, but she watched all the TikTok videos and seen this one before.
I know how you did that. The egg's in your top pocket.
Rex tries to say hi to Linda, but she emo and she says miss her with all that positivity.
There is no need to be snappy just because you went to bed bright and early last night.
Christine wants to be Linda's friend, though, and asks her to go hiking and drawing, and Linda is happy to go. We also get an amazing moment in this movie. Poirot breaks out his swimming onesie with his initials on it and a fancy swimming hat. This boy got all the riz.
That is so much swag. I want to kill myself for not having that much swag.
Arlena asks for his help to get her pedal boat out into the water and asks him not to tell anyone that she's boating because she wants some alone time. The Gardners are still salty about Arlena not signing on to do the show, and Odell wants some time to think about what they should do next. Daphne bumps into Linda. She also asks her to go for a stroll before her 11:30 meeting, but she can't do it since she's got plans with Christine. Daphne then asks Kenneth, but he's about to be busy responding to a letter he just got. Daphne leaves and Christine escorts young Linda on their afternoon journey. Also, Kenneth is looking for his wife, and Poirot is trying really hard not to snitch. Kenneth is also looking for where Patrick might be, but he's still at the hotel.
I heard you were talking shit about me.
Christine and Linda get along their way, and ooh, Odell being kind of creepy. Daphne strolls about the island, and oh, there's her bestie. Just kidding. Rex is pedal boating, and everyone looks to be enjoying their afternoon. Patrick is out here looking like a snack, showing off his guns and buns and eyeballing a boat, but little does he know, Kenneth is eyeballing him.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Patrick takes the boat, and Miss Gardner trying to get some waves in her hair too. Patrick got all the women. I want to be like Patrick when I grow up. Christine and Linda still chilling, but oh wait, it's 5 minutes till 12, and Christine got to get going because she got to get ready for tennis at 12:30 with some of the crew. Patrick and Myra see Sir Horace's boat in the water and find Arlena in the cove. Patrick tells Myra to drop him off, and he will come back with Arlena. Patrick discovers Arlena's dead body, and it looks to be by way of strangulation. Him and Myra game plan who will stay and who will go back to tell the others. Poirot makes it to the scene and comes to the same conclusion Patrick did. Poirot wants the police informed, but comes to find local police may not be too much help. Daphne asks for Poirot to keep the investigation discreet, so her hotel's reputation is not ruined. Poirot thinks it needs to be a bigger matter and does some sleuthing in a cave nearby and notices the diamond Sir Horace had and something interesting about the smell of the cave. He begins his investigation by finding out what time Patrick and Myra got to the cove. Since the cannon went off as they got closer to the shore, he narrows down a time of death between 10:30 and 12 noon. Sir Horace is waiting for Poirot, and we learn Arlena was the lady Horace was talking about the whole time, the same one who gave him the old diamond switcheroo. He realizes his dreams of getting the diamond are long gone.
I'd best chalk it all up to experience and be on my way.
Something in your life don't go right, just charge it to the game, bro. That's life.
Poirot asks Horace if he spoke to Arlena before she died. He says no.
You remember the false diamond I left in your possession? How did I happen to find it once again on the beach near the dead woman?
Horace admits that he went to the beach to have words with her and threw the fake diamond at her out of frustration, and was informed by Arlena that she would have the diamond situation sorted out by the evening time. Poirot proposes Sir Horace could have been the one to kill her out of frustration, but Sir Horace makes a great point for an alibi.
If I'd killed her, my crew would have seen me, wouldn't they? They were on the deck, bloody watching. So if you don't believe me, ask them.
He thinks Poirot should question Kenneth, the husband. Poirot interviews Kenneth, and Kenneth says he spent all of his time typing a reply letter. Mind you, this is back in the typewriting days where people type like this. Daphne says she heard and saw Kenneth typing before her meeting. Poirot puts her to the test and finds out that's a lie. Kenneth says his typed response will match the letter he received a bit earlier, and time-wise, that makes sense. Poirot then turns his sights onto Daphne and finds out she saw Arlena live on her walk, and finds out Daphne has a crush on Kenneth, and this may be a motive for murder. She instead blames Sir Horace because she saw him arguing with Arlena on the beach earlier. Poirot retires his questioning for the moment because as of now, everyone's story checks out. He then bumps into Christine and gets her side of the story. She states after hanging with Linda and finding out the time from her, she took off back to the hotel to be back in time for tennis at 12:30. She made it to the top of the hill and heard the 12 o'clock cannon, waved to Linda, and continued her trek back to the hotel. She arrived at tennis 4 minutes late, and Daphne, Kenneth, and Odell were already there. Poirot moves on to question young Linda and recalls calling out the time to Christine, who began to head out so she would be at tennis on time. Christine gives Linda the sketch of the beach and reminds her to wear her swimming cap. She says Christine waved to her from the top of the cliff and then left. She then says Poirot should question Rex because
he'd written this filthy book about her which she wouldn't allow him to publish. I heard them having a row about it on the beach yesterday.
Upon looking for Rex, Poirot bumps into Daphne, who's got her own conspiracy theories about who done it. She thinks it's Christine.
The jealous wife, Christine Redfern. You don't want to believe all that stuff about her being too weedy. Women fight like tigers when they're losing their husbands.
But Poirot has to shut all that nonsense down.
And then Madame Christine could not possibly have done it. Her alibi has been confirmed by Mademoiselle Linda.
Back to the drawing board. Poirot approaches Rex, who is adding to his book and throwing shade at the recently deceased Arlena.
The body lay on its back, parodying in death a position she so often occupied in life.
Poirot questions Rex, and he informs Rex he could see him being the killer because he knows Rex wanted to release the book on Arlena and she wasn't going to give him permission to do so. But if she was dead, then he could do it. Rex lets him know that he was on a pedal boat and it would have taken too long to get to where Arlena was by the time she was pronounced dead, and says at noon he heard the cannon and bumped into young Linda.
What did you say?
I said, good God, darling, help me pedal this damn thing back. My legs are killing me.
He also says someone threw a bottle at his head while he was pedaling on his boat. Poirot is unsure of the story because Linda made no mention of him. Rex sees Linda with her dad and pleads for her to tell the truth.
Did you see Mr. Brewster when you were bathing in Gull Cove this morning?
Yes, I did.
You lying ass bitch.
You can get people into serious trouble.
Serious trouble? Hell, darling, you can get them hanged.
Now that Rex's story checks out, Poirot speaks with Odell Gardner, who has no alibi for where he was, and is kind of okay with that. He says he was reading a book the whole time and then went to get ready for his tennis game and found out there was no running water because someone was taking a massive shower, which is strange for midday. Once he got ready, he headed out for the tennis game where he met Daphne and Kenneth, and he states Christine showed up shortly after.
So you see, I have a big, fat motive, but no alibi. Next question?
Poirot still ain't sure about him and wants to take a look at the map of the island to start to figure some things out. He runs into old Alexa Jones, who's got a new conspiracy theory to share.
And Christine were here, Kenneth was here, and I was in my staff meeting, so it has just got to be our genial columnist.
But Poirot yet again breaks her bubble and is still trying to figure out if Mr. Gardner is telling the truth because he has no alibi. Daphne says he for sure has an alibi because she saw him in the garden reading a book from 11:30 to 12. This is helpful, but now raises the question on who may have done it when everyone is now accounted for.
You mean nobody did it?
And yet we still have a body, madame.
Poirot then does some recon and explores the island and times walks from one side to the other to get a more accurate idea of how much time it would take someone to get to and from the crime scene. He comes back and has some questions for the rest of the guests.
Did anybody here throw a bottle into the sea this morning? Secondly, did any of you take a bath at 12:15 today, an odd time for ablutions?
Upon reading some old case papers, he has an idea to check the guest book. But what are you looking for, Poirot? And what did you find? Also, it's here we get an Easter egg mention of Ivor Novello, who was a real-life actor, and a fictionalized version of the character was even played by Jeremy Northam in the movie Gosford Park, which we broke down previously.
Day 4.
Poirot gets started with a new day and finds out all the guests are getting cranky and want to leave. He says before they do, he wants everyone to gather in the lounge after breakfast because he is going to reveal who the killer is.
Well, give us a few clues.
I wish you to consider very carefully a bathing cap, a bath, a bottle, a wristwatch, the diamond, the noonday gun, the breadth of the sea, and the height of the cliff. From that, you should be able to solve it yourselves.
Poirot has it figured out, but do we? Let's break down the clues and see what we got. Okay, pause. I'm watching this for the first time, and I paused it before the reveal, because I want to take the clues that Hecule Piorot gave us and see if we can formulate some sort of answer or something of who might have done this, who might have killed Arlena. Poirot's clues to us are
A bathing cap, a bath, a bottle, a wristwatch, the diamond, the noonday gun, the breadth of the sea, and the height of the cliff.
Now here's what I have. For the bathing cap, Linda can't hear when it's on. That's what I know, so that will somehow come into play as far as her not hearing the cannon. As far as the bath goes, the seawater's cold, so maybe who was taking a bath? I know Linda's in the water. Maybe she wants to sort of heat up her body temperature. Maybe it's really cold in the sea. I don't really know. As far as a bottle goes, was it a bottle of poison? Was somebody trying to get rid of something? There's so many Agatha Christie stories of people being poisoned. I'm leaning that way. I don't really know if that'll pay off, but Poirot was sniffing a bottle when he was in Kenneth's room. It was looked like a perfume of some kind. Was somebody using some sort of perfume? I don't really know. I don't have that one figured out yet. The wristwatch, Linda gave the time. Was it the correct time? Was it set on a different time? And so that way, it's not the real time. There's some sort of, and we'll get to Rex and Christine's stories, but like there's something, if they're both there at noon, like one would see the other. Who's telling the truth about noon? I just feel like there's some sort of time distortion when it comes to like Linda's clock is wrong. And did she have something to do with it? I don't really know. The diamond, did the husband find the diamond? Did somebody find the diamond? Does Poirot know where the diamond is? The noonday cannon, we know that fires at 12, so we know that like that is our true North Star. If somebody's talking about it or it's in their story or something, we at least know that like, hey, that's our point of reference. We can come back to this. This is like a source of truth. What has he figured out about that? Breadth of the sea, don't know what that means. Height of the cliff. It's a long way from the bottom to the top. Maybe it doesn't take as long. I don't know, but it has something to do maybe with Christine going to the top of the cliff. I think because she's the only one like that's going at the top of the cliff. So I don't know, or somebody who was at the top of the cliff seeing Arlene. I think it has something to do with Linda Christine, the cliff being that high or something like that. Let's look at our suspects real quick. We have Kenneth. His time's counted for up until 11:30. His motive would be his wife cheating on him. He found out. Maybe he found the diamond. Maybe his stockbroker wrote him a note, which is why he was typing back. Maybe he's low on money. And if he found the diamond, he wouldn't hurt for money anymore. Daphne, her time's accounted for from 11 to 11:30. Also, too, she was in a staff meeting from 11:30 to 12. Her alibi being there is Mr. Gardner's alibi. So maybe her time's accounted for. Her getting specific with the bashing over the head and the driftwood and the choking. Like, she knows a lot. Like, she'd be listening to a lot of true crime podcasts. So I don't know. And obviously, her reasoning to kill Arlena would be to be with Kenneth, right? Like, that seems to be a little solar flare going on between them two, Our next suspect's going to be Sir Horace. He spoke with Arlena. He was promised a diamond in the evening, and his motivation would be revenge for the diamond. Seems kind of weak. We got Patrick. He's with Miss Gardner, and he finds a body. His motive, though, would have been to kill Arlena so he can have a happy marriage, because him and his wife just be arguing all the time. So, like, maybe he plans this with his wife somehow. I don't know. And this is the tough part, right? Because, like, he's there. The body's there. The body's already dead by the time he gets there. What's really going on? I've got a theory here at the end when we get to everybody. Then we got Linda, and she was out with Christine. That's her alibi. Did she call the time too early? She hated Arlena, and she was treated very badly. nobody's really watching her. And so what if she sets the time too quick? What if she goes off and like, I don't know how far the distance is within the island. Poirot says like 6 to 7 minutes. So if that's the case, she could make it on the other side of the island, come back, the time's too fast. Comes back and still sees Rex, right? I don't know. She's got motivation to kill her. We've got Christine. She leaves at 11:55. She says she hears the cannon on the top of the cliff, rushes back to get changed. It's a stretch, but she could have rushed to choke Arlene and then waved to Linda, or like wave to Linda, rush to choke Arlene. And Linda would have no concept of time if, for instance, Christine is lying. Christine's saying she heard the cannon. Linda can't hear the cannon with the wave cap on. So there's nothing to verify. Again, she was at the top of the cliff at 12. Maybe she was. Maybe Rex is lying. But maybe she takes a hot shower. But maybe she's cold somehow. I don't know, man. She should be hot in all them clothes. Maybe she's got the smell of the perfume on her from Arlena, and she has to wash it off. And she throws it's a perfume bottle, maybe. Rex was pedaling in the water. He says it was noon. He says he heard the cannon. He says he bumped into Linda at that time. I don't know. It's sort of weird because he didn't say Christine was there, or he saw Linda waving to Christine. So is he lying about the time? I know he's on a little pedal boat and it moves slow, but like nobody really know what's going on in 30 minutes. You could probably make it somewhere in 30 minutes, I think. He could have killed Arlene and pedaled away, and be missed by Patrick and Miss Gardner coming in. Who knows? Odell doesn't really have an alibi besides reading a book from 11:30 to 12. So I guess that holds water if we believe Daphne. He could have he could have been reading a little bit and then ran away, take 6 minutes, 7 minutes, come back, and him and his wife, they're financially screwed because of Arlena. So who knows? But he's the one who did complain of somebody taking a bath. So, and we've got Daphne and Kenneth, who were the first at the tennis courts at 12:30, which means they were probably walking there on the way there, 12:20, 12:25. So here's what I do know, though. The diamond must be found and given to its owner because it's how the case started. This is my other conclusion. This is a two-person operation. There's a killer and we have some sort of diamond thief at the same time. The diamond's still in play somewhere. We don't know where it's like a shell game right now. Gun to head, which makes the most sense. Who's got the most on the line is Christine. And if it's going to be a two-man operation, I think it's going to be Christine and Patrick somehow. And what I was getting at was, as far as poison goes, is like, what if Arlene was kind of poisoned, but maybe she didn't die all the way, and like Patrick found her poisoned and maybe unconscious, like maybe poisoned and unconscious, and he chokes her like after homegirl leaves to go get Poirot, because like strangulation marks, you would know a time of death when strangulation mark. He'd have to do that quick. Maybe she's like poisoned, and like maybe he finds her poisoned, but who poisoned her? I don't know. And so this is why I think like this is a two-man operation. Somebody had to poison her. Maybe it was like Christine, or maybe while he's like trying to kill Arlene, Christine's off to get the diamond somehow. I don't know. But here's the thing. I know these two are involved somehow. My second guess of a killer is going to be Linda. And the only reason it's going to be Christine and Linda is that there's a time distortion thing. I don't really know. If the wristwatch is one of our clues, and Rex is saying, I saw you there at 12 o'clock. Was it really 12 o'clock? He's saying it is. Maybe he's just saying the cannon was there. Christine, was she there at 12 o'clock? And Linda, in between that time, like she goes and kills Arlene. Linda would be my second killer. Just again, the time factor with those two. Something's fishy over there. But yeah, I'm going to go with, this is a two-man operation. Christine, Patrick. I don't think I have everything solved, but let's see what we got. Everyone gathers in the lounge and Poirot goes through the crime and timeline it was committed. Just to show he ain't playing no games, he gives a direct verdict on who did it.
I came to the conclusion that it was you, Madame Redfern.
Christine swears she didn't do it, but he breaks down where the lie was that will crack this case wide open. He repeats her story of being at the top of the cliff at noon, but if she was there, she would have seen Rex, who also claims he was in the same area at noon and bumped into Linda. Rex made no mention of seeing Christine or seeing Linda wave to someone in the cliffs. But didn't Linda tell Christine the time?
The watch. Now that is very important.
Poirot deduces that while Linda was away, Christine went to Linda's room, found her wristwatch, and changed the time forward by 20 minutes. It was then she invited Linda to go for a hike and a sketch. This would make Linda her false alibi, and her plan would be in motion. Once out with Linda, Christine had her own wristwatch that had the real time of 11:35. But to go along with the plan, she asks Linda what time it is. Linda's watch, reading 20 minutes fast, says that it's 11:55. And so to go along with this false time illusion, Christine begins to leave, but not without first changing the time back on Linda's watch to cover her tracks, and gives Linda her bathing cap. The bathing cap, as we know, muffles sound, and thus Linda would not hear when the noonday gun would go off, which would reveal the real time. Christine then goes to the top of the cliff and waves to Linda. She then races across the island, which takes 6 to 7 minutes, and finds the cove where Arlena is. The only way down is a ladder, and Christine says she has vertigo, so she couldn't have used a ladder at that height. He says her vertigo story is a bunch of shit.
In order to have seen Linda in the water, would have had to stand right on the very edge. Had you suffered from vertigo, it would have been impossible.
I'm full of shit. And it's okay.
Once Arlena saw Christine, she was going to leave to avoid Jerry Springer drama, but instead hid in a cave. Poirot says he matched a distinct smell in the cave to one of Arlena's perfume bottles. As Arlena came out of hiding, Christine hit her on the head with a rock. Patrick says he's had enough of Poirot accusing his wife of murder. After all, Arlena was strangled, and Christine would not have the hand strength to do so.
Yes, I quite agree. In fact, that was a major stumbling block to my theory.
Redfern's right. This knocks your theory out of court, Monsieur Poirot.
Poirot agrees and moves on to part 2 of his conclusion.
The murder was committed by her husband, Patrick Redfern.
Ms. Gardner says there's no way Patrick could have done it because she was with him from 11:30 to 12 when the crime was committed. She also says she saw the dead body. Poirot agrees she saw a body, but from her viewpoint, it could have been anybody. He further deduces it was actually Christine pretending to be dead, dressed in Arlena's clothes. Miss Gardner points out Christine is
as pale as pasteurized milk.
Look at those eyes. Miss Gardner, I wouldn't be talking shit to someone accused of killing somebody.
I'm gonna stab your whole ass when we get upstairs to themselves, man.
How could I have possibly mistaken her arms and legs for Arlena's?
Poirot has a theory about this. He says Christine put on fake tan lotion to match Arlena's darker skin tone and waited for Patrick to get there at noon. Now, because she wore such long clothes to go to the beach, she could use them to cover her fake tan on the way back. He also says along the way she disposed of the bottle of the fake tan lotion, and this would be the same bottle that almost hit Rex. She races back to her room and takes a bath to rub off the fake tan lotion, the same long bath Mr. Gardner said he heard. After all that, she indeed makes it to the tennis courts 4 minutes late and acts completely normal as if nothing has happened. Poirot suspects the couple was faking all of their loud fights to make a scene for everyone and make it seem as if their marriage was in trouble. He says Christine played the part of a frail woman in a troubled marriage to be pitied by the other guests, and that Patrick played the part of a cheating husband advertising his infidelity to everyone.
But the one thing you have failed to supply, Monsieur Poirot, is motive. Why on earth should I kill Arlena? I absolutely adored her.
Poirot points out Patrick was into Arlena for her money and brings up the diamond. Remember that thing? The reason we all came to the island with Poirot in the first place? Poirot points out Patrick used to be a teacher based on comments he previously made and probably doesn't have much money.
Oh, pray, do continue, Monsieur Poirot.
He was the one who diverted Arlena's attention away from Sir Horace, and he was the one who took the real diamond and replaced it with a fake without Arlena knowing.
And you had to eliminate the only witness capable of exposing you. And what better opportunity than on holiday? In a small, exclusive island where you could plan and execute her murder.
Poirot says once Arlena awoke in the cave after getting hit in the head, Patrick went in and strangled her. Patrick does the villain slow clap. You know, the one every villain does when they get caught? Patrick and Christine are clearly the villains, and Patrick calls out the fact that Poirot has all the conjecture but no proof.
Is that true?
Do you mean to say we've sat here and listened to all that and you can't prove a word of it?
Unfortunately, Monsieur Redfern is absolutely right.
Then Christine decides to get snarky.
Just give us 5 minutes, Mr. Poirot, and I'm sure we'll be able to work out how you did it. After all, where were you at the time of the murder?
You raggedy bitch.
Everyone is upset they had to hear a full monologue, and yet clearly the villains of this crime are about to get away. They all gather and look like they're ready to jump Poirot.
Man, let's jump.
But then... Anybody else watching this and thinking of that scene from She's All That? The villain couple are now gloating in their spiffy digs. They consider not paying their hotel stay, but Patrick doesn't want anyone to think any less of them. Oh, they'll kill someone, but not paying a bill, that's where these criminals draw the line, huh? Patrick writes a check, and him and Christine smugly make an exit, but Poirot stops them.
Un instant, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur Roubert. Monsieur Félix Roubert?
And Miss Gardner asks a question we're all thinking.
Who the hell is Ruber?
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
We find out that Alice Rupert was killed and she had a life insurance policy for a large sum of money. This was a case Poirot worked on prior to the diamond case that led him to the island. We find out the hiker who found the dead body, you know the one from the beginning of the movie, was Christine. Patrick, who committed the crime, was on a train at the time the body was found so he wouldn't look like a suspect. Homie looking a lot like Denzel in Training Day at this point.
You think you can do this to me? You motherfuckers will be playing basketball in Pelican Bay when I get finished with you.
Different names, but, monsieur, undeniably the same handwriting.
Do you really think anyone's going to believe the evidence of a couple of scribbled signatures?
Poirot explains that Patrick's picture and Christine's picture were in the paper as the husband of Alice and the hiker who found the body.
And which I have, of course, sent for, will be enough proof to hang you, sir.
Poirot then asks him to smoke his pipe that he has yet to smoke since he's been on the island. Patrick refuses, and Poirot yet again deduces that is where Patrick is hiding the diamond. He hands it to Sir Horace and, oh shit!
Oh, shit! You got knocked the fuck out!
I'll be honest, I'm surprised no one slid his nosy ass earlier. Anyways, Poirot is getting pampered now because he solved the case and needs some TLC after getting dropped. Didn't like 2 seconds ago y'all hate him though? Patrick and Christine are locked up like Akon, and Odell gives them the Gatsby treatment as they head to jail. The end. What did y'all think of this one? Had y'all seen it before, or was this your first time? Also, most importantly, did y'all solve it, and did it make sense how it all went down? Yeah, I truly enjoyed this movie. The reveal and the writing were really some of my favorite parts.
Oh, pray, do continue.
Evil Under the Sun is on the surface a pretty typical murder mystery. A detective with 12 or less guests, a secluded setting, a murder, clues, a MacGuffin, and a grand reveal monologue informing everyone who done it and how. It's the small things about this movie that give it its own flavor though, such as the characters and witty humor sprinkled in.
Well, if it's fun you're looking for, darling, go play with the jellyfish.
The detective character Hecule Piorot truly embodies the typical archetype for what a great detective should be. He's observant, sleuthy, composed, and witty. He is portrayed so amazingly by Peter Ustinov, who gives the character his own unique flair, separate from what we've seen from David Suchet or Kenneth Branagh's portrayal of Poirot. For as many books as Agatha Christie wrote, each story does a great job of having its own set of unique, larger-than-life characters, some of whom we like and some of whom we despise. But Hecule Piorot is truly one of the best characters who's been introduced to the world. You can love him, you can hate him, but you know he's going to get the job done. There's also so many great things to say about Agatha Christie and the amazing clever ways she thought her villains would commit their crimes. I'm pretty stoked I got the villains right, but the elaborateness of the how done it aspect was pretty ingenious to me. If you're a fan of the Kenneth Branagh trilogy of Hecule Poirot films, I strongly recommend this one, and the rest of the Peter Ustinov film trilogy that includes Death on the Nile and Appointment with Death. Thank y'all so much for joining me for another murder mystery. It brings me a lot of joy to break these down and attempt to solve the crime the first time I watch it. I have a few more in my own personal queue I want to break down, but if you have a murder mystery you'd like to see broken down and reviewed, throw it in the comments and I'd be happy to break it down. If you like this, check out my review of Gosford Park and check out the channel for all the great work the team does. It's been great, I've had a blast, but for now, I'm off to solve another mystery. So whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this, I do appreciate you. And until the next case, I will see you. Peace.